Hey everyone, first video for the channel. I figured I'd do something kind of interesting. I'm into retro gaming and I use something called a TerraONION mode in order to play backup images that I have on my Sega Saturn and my Sega Dreamcast. So there is one shortcoming of the device though. While it's a great device and there's plenty of videos out there and other articles that you can read about the device, it has one shortcoming on it that TerraONION I'm sure will probably fix in the future, but until then I fixed it, or I got a little bit of a workaround anyway. You can't actually load images over the network on it. You actually have to pull the storage device out, whether it's an SSD or some sort of flash memory out of it, load the images on, put it back into the system, and then start it back up. Okay. There's one problem with that. Generally, you have to actually pull the console back apart in order to do that. I have two of these devices, two of the mode devices from TerraONION. I have one in the Dreamcast and one in the Saturn, so it's not a big deal. But sometimes people may want to switch the drive that they're using in between those two devices, and that can get kind of hairy. With this right here, you can actually load an image either through SMB or SFTP directly to the mode. Now, what I call this project is called the MODEbot, just for a lack of a better name. And what it is it's a Pi 0 with one of these iUniker USB dongles attached to it. And what I've done effectively is I've used some freely available documentation that I'll make note of in the write-up to actually convert this device into a USB flash drive. Okay, now this is the Pi 0W. This is the one that has the wireless built into it. Okay, there's a Pi 0 and the 0W. Get the 0W for obvious reasons. It's a very easy device to use. It's very small. I mean, as you can see, it's it's not very big. It's about I would say about 3.5 inches long. By about an inch wide. Very, very low power. These things are actually made for IoT type devices or just small hobby computing type devices if you've never actually used a Raspberry Pi device before. And what's cool is, they're powered just by USB. Okay, right here. This is this USB port is only for power, and this one's for power and data. And there's also a mini HDMI port on here, so it actually comes with an HDMI adapter, so you can plug this into a display if you want to. But all the storage is done on one of these micro SD cards, one of these flash memories, and that goes right in here, and then it boots up, and it boots up a version of what's called Raspberry Pi OS or any other OS that's compatible with the actual platform itself. Now, I've made a few not so much modifications, but a few adjustments to the Raspberry Pi OS that I boot up on here to make it so that it boots faster. I've also made it so that when this plugs in and gets power after it's fully booted, after about 20, maybe 30 seconds, this actually shows up as a USB storage dongle, like any kind of USB thumb drive or a flash drive of some sort, which is actually very advantageous for us because of the simple fact that the mode not only uses SSD or an SD flash memory, you can also use USB storage with it. Okay, now you can't use SSDs or HDDs, whichever one you have, a 2.5 inch drive, we'll say, and the SSD, the USB at the same time. However, you can get these little SD cards in large enough sizes where you can store quite a few images on here. But like I said, we can take those images off. If we don't want to use them anymore, we can take them off and we can actually load new ones on over the network without actually having to disassemble the console, and do it very easily and very quickly actually. So just a little bit of explanation of what I've done here. Like I said, the first little mini USB that you'll come to on here is strictly for power, okay? And the second one here is for power and data. Now, if you look at the bottom of the iUniker, it has these two little vampire taps, and you can see them right there, Okay, they actually just touch the underneath of these two ports, so that when you plug this in, okay, you're basically powering up the device through here and pulling data off of here. Now, what I would like to have seen, since you can do everything through one, is somehow do it off of this, but there's one problem, okay? There's only exposed copper, and I'm not going to take this apart to show you. You'll see on the device when you look at some pictures of it. Look at the bottom. There's actually just exposed copper pads for the two pins on the bottom here for data. I wish that the Pi Foundation would have somehow added two more pads on here for the power as well, but you know, it is what it is. It works just fine the way it is. I just thought that might be a little bit cleaner implementation. That, and you could have always had power plugged into this and not actually fed power back through into the mode device if that would have happened. But you know, it is what it is. It's not a big deal. With that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over and move on to a demo of how you actually get this guy plugged in, get it powered up, and get it working with a TerraONION mode. Now, in the example I'm going to show you, I'm going to use a Sega Saturn. This thing will actually work with Sega Saturn and the Dreamcast. I don't know about the PlayStation, because I know PlayStation just recently, TerraONION added support for it. I don't have a PlayStation Series 1 system to try it out on, so I haven't tried it on there. But I have tried it on the Dreamcast, I have tried it on the Saturn. It works the exact same way in both cases, and for the demo I'll be using the Saturn. So let's go switch over to the demo and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So in this demo I'm going to start using a cable. It's just easier to show everybody what I'm doing, and also to show how the green LED blinks as it's booting up. The MODEbot itself, the Pi Zero, is actually small enough with the iUniker USB dongle to actually just plug directly into the board. But for the sake of this demo, I'm just going to use a cable. It's just easier that way. Okay, so when you first boot the MODEbot up, it's probably not going to be detected. And the reason for that is because the Pi Zero is still booting up and it's actually not serving any storage. So what you're going to do is just wait a few seconds and then hit the reset button on the Sega Saturn itself. Like I said, it does take a few seconds to boot the Pi Zero. I stripped out a bunch of stuff out of there, so the boot process is actually a little faster than it normally would be. But I still need to do more work on it. And actually, there's some different versions of OSs that'll run on top of the Pi Zero that are stripped down already and boot very fast. I'm actually going to start testing those out, maybe get rid of Raspberry Pi OS. As you can see, the mode will come up regardless of the MODEbot being booted up or not. It will display a firmware version of 0, okay, which is obviously that's incorrect. Okay, it has to have a firmware running. It just won't show anything because it can't actually detect a disk. In order to actually see a disk, you're going to do something very scientific, and that is wait a few seconds for the little green LED on the MODEbot itself to stop blinking rapidly. Once it stops blinking rapidly, that's a pretty good indication that the MODEbot is fully booted up and ready to go. At that point, you can just hit reset. Do not power the Sega Saturn off, or else you're going to have to go through all this again. So once you hit reset, what you're going to see is the MODEbot come back up, and you'll see a firmware version displayed. And at this point, you're ready to go. You can actually start to use the MODEbot as a storage device. Now that the MODEbot is up, you'll be able to just use a standard SSH client to connect to it and log in using the MODEbot account. Once logged in, you can go over to the /mnt/USB_share and see your actual game images that you have loaded in there, if you have any at all. If not, the next section will help you get some images loaded on. As of now, you can connect to the MODEbot in two different ways to load images. You can either use SFTP, and I'm using FileZilla here just because it's readily available and easy to use, or just your standard SMB, which is built into pretty much any modern operating system. More protocols are going to be added in the future. I just use these two because they're widely available and easy to use. Like I said, I'm using FileZilla. However, you can use pretty much any SFTP client that you want to use. It just happens that this is one I have. I'm going to log in with the MODEbot account with SFTP, just like I did with SSH. You cannot log in with the default Pi account or root. I'm also going to log in with SMB and just leave the window open just so you can see what's going on. As you can see, when I log in, I can go to the root of the drive and then navigate to /mnt/USB share. Underneath there, you're going to see the Saturn directory that I already made. And this is where your games are going to go. So when you have your game backups, and I specify backups, do not pirate stuff. That's my disclaimer. You can just go and pull them over here and they will start to load. Okay, now that we have our new game image loaded up, let's go back over to our system. We'll press the SW2 button on the mode device itself. Hold down the SW2 button until, quote unquote, the middle green LED turns off and then turns back on. I messed it up at the beginning of the video. What you're going to see is the Saturn screen come up. It's the Saturn settings screen. It'll say like loading application. Click on the application. You'll go back into the mode main menu, and at that point you're going to see your new game, and in this case it's Black Dawn for me. Okay, just a couple of final thoughts on the project. This is just a beginning for the project. MODEbot, it's just a Linux Nix-based little device, right? So we can actually add a bunch of different stuff into it. One of the things I want to do is be able to add an external SMB share into it, so you could have all kinds of games. You can have, gigabytes worth of game images if you wanted them, if you had them, somehow you obtained them, and just mount them up directly over the network. I'd also like to be able to figure out a way to actually port this to the outside world. I mean, I don't want to really cut my case up, and I'm really not sure what the use case would be, but I think it'd be kind of interesting just to have this go to the outside world so you can actually see what's going on the device. It's just me. But yeah, other than that, adding more protocols in the future is definitely going to happen. It's just a matter of actually being able to have time to sit down and test it out and make sure it's going to work. Now, having said that, this is actually a pretty easy project to kind of get your feet wet with doing anything with a small single board computer. I have everything available on the GitHub, which I'll post links to below. Everything is in the GitHub account. So the setup script, all the documentation, links to everything that you're going to need to actually put this guy together, and just a simple walkthrough. If you have questions, I would actually just leave comments down below, and then we can see if we can't get the questions answered and maybe start coming up with some ideas to add to MODEbot. But that's all for now. Thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll have some more updates on this guy in the near future. Thanks.